Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Patty Giarrusso, and this is Let's Talk Pets on Society Bites Radio. Today, we welcome to the show TRACY KRULIK. She's a certified separation anxiety trainer, and she trains dogs with separation anxiety for the Humane Rescue Alliance in Washington, D.C., as well as private clients across the United States remotely online. She's also the founder and managing editor of ispeakdog.org, which is a website to teach dog body language and behavior. Her writing can be found in publications including The Bark Magazine, The Washington Post, and The Chronicle of the Dog. Tracy's passion is helping fearful dogs discover confidence and joy, just as she did for her once fraidy pup, Emma the Beagle. Welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I always like to talk about separation anxiety because it affects dogs in so many ways. And, as the president of a organization that deals with lost pets, it's something that I think of a lot because I think dogs run scared a lot, and
Yeah.
it is something that, separation anxiety, people really don't know what to do with it. So the show goes by really fast. So rather than me asking you a lot of questions, I would like you to just give us, what are some of the most important things that a person that has a dog with separation anxiety should work on, or how would you go about giving us the best amount of information in such a short period of time, I guess?
Great. Yeah. Okay. Sure. That's an easy one for me.
Okay.
Well, okay. So the first, I'm being sarcastic. I could talk about this I could truly talk about this for days. So the first thing that we need to figure out is the problem truly anxiety? Is this dog actually scared? Because there are a number of reasons why we see separation related problems. Things like dogs damaging, the home, tearing up parts of the, couches and pillows and door frames and windows and all this kind of stuff, breaking through windows, breaking through doors. I do see, sadly, more often than I would like, leading to what you're talking about of dogs getting lost. As well as dogs running around the house, barking, howling, just absolutely not settled down. A lot of these dogs truly are scared. It's no different. Their being home alone is no different than me being locked in a room with spiders. I'm going to lose it. And so what we need to do, you need to get me out of the room with the spiders. If I'm gonna feel better, we need to get me away from the thing that's scary. If dogs are terrified of being alone, we need to find a way to stop them from being scared. But some dogs are frustrated or bored, which is a different situation. You may have a dog who is there's so much energy built in them. They're not getting out on walks. They're not being given enrichment opportunities, the ability to sniff. They're not getting fed out of food toys. They're just bored, or they're just kind of losing it. And for those dogs, we need to work with them in a totally different way than a dog who's truly panicked. And then the last sort of bucket is we need to make sure that the dog is feeling okay. That there's a university in England that is doing a ton of research on separation related problems, as well as how physical ailments affect behavior. And one of the top items that they see for dogs that are unhealthy, or there's something going on with them physically, destruction in the home. So it may be that they're ripping things up, not because they're scared, but because maybe they're in pain, or maybe there's some other physical issue, hypothyroidism, some kind of medical issue that's at the root cause of it. So I truly believe that to help any dog with these types of issues, we need to take a very holistic approach. We need to work with our vets to make sure that the dog is healthy. We need to make sure that we're giving our dogs ample exercise, ample opportunity to use their noses, which is the most important thing to them, to search for their food, not to just be fed out of a bowl. And then we also work on the training aspects. So let's talk about if the dog is truly scared. Okay, so if we have a dog, which is the more common situation, right, that the dog is afraid to be alone. This is where body language literacy is really important. I think everybody knows you just have to go out and come in and go out and come in and teach the dog that you're always going to come back and just go out and come in and eventually your dog will get it. And so many people are like, well, I've been doing all of that. I've been doing all that training and nothing's working. And the reason is that we're not looking at their body language. In order for the training to be effective, we need to make sure that the dog is not actually scared when we do the training. It's a process called desensitization, which is the same method that human beings use to overcome our own fears. For instance, my fear of spiders, I would use the same type of program as this that I do to work with dogs to overcome my fear. So the first thing we have to do is figure out where is the dividing line between where the dog is feeling totally fine, relaxed, cool, calm, and collected to where the dog starts to get scared. And whereas I can say to you, yeah, I'm too close to that spider. I've got chills. I can't handle this. Our dogs can't say that to us. So we have to read their body language and look for things, subtle clues, like is the dog yawning, licking his lips? Does he suddenly get itchy, scratching a lot? The bigger clues, is his tail tucked? Is his body rigid? Is he being aggressive, or is he trying to make himself small? Like all of these more obvious things. And once we see, okay, well, here's the point, at 10 seconds, this dog is fine. But right after 10 seconds, this dog really changes. Now we know, okay, so that's where we start the training. And we start doing the exercises underneath that point. Like my dog, Emma the Beagle, her line was 10 seconds. And I use that as an example because honestly, most dogs that I work with, we're talking a few seconds that they can handle. Or as I'm sure you know, before you even get to that point, you pick up your keys or you pick up your briefcase or something and boom, the dog is already panicked.
Yeah.
So, with Ems, we started at 10 seconds. A couple years prior, before we really knew what we were doing, we would just do the go out and come in and go out and come in. And I think the smallest amount of time I ever did was like 30 seconds, which seemed really reasonable to me. Seemed like, well, that should, that's a nice short amount of time. But I wasn't helping her and she was actually becoming more fearful. And then over time I learned, well, yeah, her threshold was 10 seconds. I was gone for a minimum of 30 seconds. So we're starting out with, right there, a minimum of 20 seconds of panic. And then I'm building from there, So that's like if I were a magician, that would be the secret I'm not supposed to tell you, that in order for this to work, we have to read their body language. We have to figure out where they're comfortable. And start there and do the exercises underneath that point.
Right. Now, I was reading about using your security cameras in your home so you could keep an eye on your pet and you could kind of figure out, what happens and watch it because you can't see it when you're outside of the door. And this way you could kind of see it and you would kind of learn from doing that, right?
Totally. I actually do with all my separation anxiety clients, I work remotely because I need to see the dog in his or her natural environment. It doesn't make sense for me to come into your home, change everything around, and then let's all leave together or me sit there and watch. I need to see what really happens. So we set up a video conference on a laptop computer or an iPad or something like that. And they set up the computer for me to watch. They grab their belongings, head out and lock the door, and I watch the dog and figure out where that fear threshold is. And then when my clients do the training, every day I give them exercises. So like Emma's first day of training was something like, we might do something like open the door, close the door, go back and sit down for 30 seconds. And then another one might be step outside, close the door, wait 1 second, come back in. So we do these, these simple little exercises. And then my clients write down in the box next to it on the spreadsheet what the dog looked like, what the dog sounded like, what the dog was doing. Mm-hmm. And so I can take all that information and say, okay, dog did really well today. Like, took her 6 or 7 warm-ups to get there. By the end of it, she was just snoozing on the couch, totally fine. We can push. We can go a little farther tomorrow.
Now, do you
think...
But
it really comes down to watching.
Right. Now, do you think, because I was just out of town and I was watching my dogs, and because my daughter stays at our house when we're gone, and so when she went to work, I wanted to see what was going on. So I'm watching them, and her dog, I think, has bad separation anxiety. And so it does. I thought it might help her having my dogs around her, but she just literally sat there and cried. She's not destructive, but she sits there and cries, just howls. And not really loud, but just very sad. It's very sad.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah. And
some dogs benefit having other dogs around them. A lot of dogs with separation anxiety, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't seem to matter. Yeah, it did not seem to matter to her, and I was surprised because I'd never seen her do that before.
This was in your home, so her dog came with her to your home?
Yeah, but I daycare her every day, Monday through Friday, while Danielle's at work.
Oh, so she's used to being there.
She's used to being here, yeah. So I hadn't seen her do that. We check in on the dogs a lot if we are out and about or whatever, and we check in. And I've never seen her do it, but she did it that time, and I found it interesting and sad. It was really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't know if that is crying like that just a form. It's obviously a form of separation anxiety, right? They're not destructive, but they're just sad and crying, I guess, right?
Yeah, so it's we can't really classify intensity of fear based on the way the dog behaves. It's really an individual response. So for instance, I keep coming back to this. So my mom gave me her fear of spiders when we lived in a house that was infested with many. And every time she saw one, she would scream like somebody was stabbing her. I don't do that. I'm just as scared as my mom was. I'm absolutely terrified of spiders, but I go quiet and I sort of get like jerky, like my body just starts twitching and I kind of like run away. Whereas my mom would scream so loud. It's just a different fear response, but not necessarily indicative that one is more fearful than the other. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we don't know. I mean, it could be mild. It could be she's very scared. It's hard to know based on that.
Yeah, I feel like she's very scared. And while you were talking, I wrote down this noise phobia and separation anxiety go hand in hand, you said. So, specifically in Florida, where we have some tremendous thunderstorms, that is a really scary thing for all of my dogs except, I've got 4 dogs. Except for 2 of them, they don't even care. They run out and be like, hey, what's going on out here? But the other 2, and Gia, my daughter's dog, they're terrified, So I don't know what happens if we're not home during a thunderstorm, but how does it go hand in hand? What do you mean by that, the noise phobia?